Dr. Ben Carson found himself being challenged on Fox News Sunday by host Chris Wallace about his economic plan. Now, let's take a look at the first part of this exchange.
One of the pillars of your economic program is a flat tax. How would that work?
Well, I like the idea of a proportional tax. That way you pay according to your ability. And I got that idea, quite frankly, from the Bible, tithing. You make $10 billion a year, you pay $1 billion. You make $10 a year, you pay $1 billion. You get the same rights. That's pretty darn fair if you ask me. Now, some people say it's not fair because, you know, the poor people can't afford to pay that dollar. That's very condescending.
No, it's not condescending. It's math. How is it condescending when you point out that, hey, you know, if you're poor and you pay more, 10% of your tax, which is what he talks about in his tax plan, well, 10% of your income that could have gone to your basic living expenses, which, once again, if you're poor, you pay most of your money and most of your income goes to basic survival items, food, shelter, energy, transportation. And now you get taxed under his plan, you would get taxed at 10%. And now he calls that condescending if you just point out the difficulties that somebody who is on the lower income spectrum not being able to afford that tax. Oh, that's condescending. No, asshole, that's math.
But doctor, here is the problem with a flat tax in the real world. According to the Tax Policy Center, to raise the same amount of revenue we do now, the tax rate would have to be in the low to mid 20% range.
Wrong.
Low and middle income families would get a big tax hike, while wealthy families would actually get a big tax cut.
That's actually not, I don't agree with that assessment. Let me put it that way.
It's wrong because I don't agree with it. Once again, you don't agree with math? You don't agree with facts, logic, and reason. Oh, okay. Now, Chris Wallace points out that, hey, look, all my experts say that that's the case. Say that this flat tax is going to hurt people. And he says, well, I'm just going to bring out my own experts. Yeah, your own experts that are paid probably by big corporations that want to keep their taxes low. It's going to be my experts versus your experts. Now, Chris Wallace is doing an amazing job grilling Ben Carson on this tax plan. Now, let's see Chris Wallace really kind of hammer it to him in this clip.
For instance, you talked about low-income families. They not only don't they pay, they actually get an earned income tax credit. Now you're going to have them paying 10 to 15% of whatever income they have, or 20% if my experts are right. Isn't there a danger? I got to tell you, a lot of independent studies say the people who make out like bandits in this are the wealthy.
And that's the whole point. Now, Dr. Ben Carson's like, yeah, but it gets complicated, and then we'll have to cut government, and so that we could lower the tax rates and get rid of loopholes, and, blah, 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 the same thing. Now, you notice that politicians, they usually will say, well, let's just get rid of loopholes and tax breaks and deductions, and then we can lower the rates, especially for corporations. That would be great. But it turns out that they never, ever, even when they say it, they're politicians, they're never going to get rid of those loopholes. They're always going to have access to loopholes, and even if they get rid of some, they're going to create others. These are politicians. That's what they do, and that's what they're paid to do by the wealthy and large corporations to be able to get more loopholes and deductions. And if they allow us to lower their rates, they are going to, as Chris Wallace puts it, make out like bandits. That's the whole point of a flat tax, is for the rich to get richer by paying less taxes and to shift that burden over to poor people and the middle class, which poor people it affects even more disproportionately, and it hurts them so much more than it does even the middle class and the wealthy. The flat tax is all about redistribution and socialism for the rich. Know your facts in the flat tax.